The writers who make it, they're not the ones chasing shortcuts. They're the ones that made practice their default setting. But here's the twist. Most writers think they're practicing when they're really not. And if you don't know the difference, you could be wasting years of your life. If you care about getting better, really better, you need to understand how growth as a writer actually works. In this video, I'll show you what real practice is and how to stop stalling your own progress. You don't just magically get better at writing by doing it a lot. I think that's kind of a myth that's out there right now. If you just do it a lot, if you just write every day, then you're somehow magically going to get better. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It's not that easy. It's harder than that. Real practice is slow and it's gritty, but it will move you forward if you're willing to do it. Translation, if you want to be a great writer, you got to practice like one. Practice doesn't mean you just do something over and over and over again. Imagine if you're wanting to get good at baseball. So you just go out and you throw the ball over and over and over again. Let's say you do that for 3 months, and then you have a mentor come out and see how you're doing. And come to find out you're doing no better than you were when you first started. Why? Because all you did was do it over and over again. It'd be the same as if you just typed a story, and typed another story, typed another story. All you're doing is typing away, you're getting words on the page, which is good, but it's not real practice. The difference between just doing something over and over again and actually practicing means analyzing what went wrong or what is wrong with how you're doing things. Then learning how to fix it and improve. If you're not deliberately taking it apart and figuring out why this is happening and then learning how to do it better, you're not practicing. You're just repeating the same mistake. And sometimes that can even be worse than not practicing at all, because what you're doing is you're cementing in your brain how to do it wrong. So we have to separate this thing between just writing every day and writing with intention. So let's talk about what I mean by that. Say you're trying to improve your descriptions in your stories. You don't just rewrite your forest scene 20 times and hope it will get better. You have to go study great forest scenes. You have to go seek out books that have great forest scenes and see how the writers are painting those scenes to be able to learn how to do it better. Then you compare those scenes to yours. What's different? What word choices are they making? What's the rhythm? How are they positioning the prose in between the dialogue and the action to make this scene in the forest work well? Once you've kind of analyzed that and compared, then you can go back and rewrite yours and see if it comes out better the next time. I have a stack of some of my favorite books written by some master writers next to my writing chair. And I will often go look at those. If I have to write an action scene coming up, I'll go pull out the book that I know has excellent action scenes and just read it through. Not because I'm trying to copy it, but because I'm trying to remind myself what makes up a good action scene. What are the principles that I need to remember when doing an action scene so that I go into that action scene with the right mindset. The thing that most people don't really like is that real purposeful practice is uncomfortable. It's not as fun as just repetition. It pushes you into discomfort because you're having to face what you don't know and have to try to do something that you don't yet know how to do. That feels uncomfortable. And this is where getting feedback is part of the deal too. And that's also uncomfortable. You've worked really hard on this story and then you give it to somebody else and they say, well, you know, this needs work and this needs work. And that's discouraging and it's uncomfortable. It's not what we enjoy doing about writing, but it is important if we want to become better writers. It's the only way to become better writers. So how do you know if you're really practicing or not? I'm going to give you 3 signs. First sign to tell if you're really practicing, does it feel uncomfortable? Does it feel hard? That's one sign that says, yeah, okay, I'm probably really practicing here. I'm trying to up my skills. If we're just, la 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 la, typing away and having a good time, oftentimes that isn't actually practice. When we're like, oh man, this scene is not working. I got to figure out how to make it work. Let me try this. And then you reread it. Still not there. Let me try this. And then you reread it. That's practice. That's harder. Sign number 2 that you're really practicing is you are breaking down your work. It's okay if you get your first draft down and it's really rough. But then when it's time to practice, you're going back and you're breaking it down. You're saying, okay, here's my inciting incident, here's my opening scene, here's my first paragraph, here's my main characters, here's my settings that I'm doing. One thing that's good is to put all of your similar scenes together. Like, here's this setting and this setting and this setting, and how are they comparing? And if I read them all by themselves, are they still captivating or are they boring? Are they really showing me where I am, or do they all sound kind of similar? Then you take dialogue from this scene and this scene and this scene. You start examining it. Pull down your favorite books and you're comparing this scene of dialogue to your scene of dialogue. If you're breaking it down, you're really practicing. The third sign that you're really practicing is that you're being purposeful about it. You're purposeful about practice. In other words, you're not just writing. You're setting out to get better by practicing overcoming your own challenges. I think a lot of times as writers, we don't even think about practicing. We're just writing the next story. We're not thinking about how are we practicing this time around. I had a writing mentor once that gave me a tip that has never left me. It was actually a couple, a husband and wife couple, and they said that every time they wrote a new book, they picked a new thing to practice. This time I'm really practicing on characterization. What am I practicing on with this short story? Really practicing my descriptions. What am I practicing on with this novella that I'm writing? I'm practicing setting. I'm practicing dialogue. Whatever it is. They were purposeful about it. They had a mindset going into it that I'm going to make my settings better in this book than they were in the last one. I'm going to make my dialogue better in this one than it was in the last one. That is the way that you up your skills as you go. That's how you become a master writer. You don't get there by just over and over and over doing the same thing. Over and over and over doing the same thing can actually either make you plateau or even decline. How do you know you're practicing? It's uncomfortable, you're breaking it down, and you're doing it with purpose. You're going about it in a purposeful way. If you're doing those three things, congratulations, you're on your way to becoming a master writer. If you're not doing those things, then you can start doing them today. So your mission of the week, if you choose to accept it, this week, don't just write, practice like a writer who wants to improve. Pick just one area of your writing, dialogue, characters, setting, structure, and spend one focused session just working on that one thing. You want to study it, you want to read articles and books about it, you want to compare your book to books that you admire on just that one thing. Then you want to go back and experiment and see if you can write a scene or two better than you did before. When you're done with that exercise, then ask yourself, what did I learn? And can I do this better in my next book? See, what you're doing here is you're not just building pages, you're building mastery. So should you be discouraged if you're not getting where you want to be as a writer? Absolutely not. You should feel fired up because every minute you spend practicing makes you a better writer. If you are purposely practicing, you absolutely are becoming a better writer. And your future you is going to thank you for it. See you next time.